The gun was cold. Clara Ashwood had been holding it for 3 hours, and still her finger would not move. Below her, down the rocky slope where pine trees stood like silent witnesses, a single window glowed yellow against the darkness. Inside that cabin, a man sat by his fire, the man who called himself her father. The wind cut across the ridge. Snow swirled in the air, catching moonlight, turning the world into something both beautiful and merciless. Clara's hands had gone numb an hour ago. The rifle barrel pointed steady at that distant window. One shot. That was all it would take. She had practiced this moment in her mind 1,000 times. The squeeze of the trigger, the crack that would split the night, the way the light would go dark in that window. Final. Permanent. Justice. But her finger stayed frozen, not from cold, from something else. Something that felt like weakness, but might have been the last shred of her humanity refusing to die. Clara lowered the rifle. The metal scraped against the rock as she set it down. Her breath came out in clouds that disappeared into the black Virginia sky. 3 hours of watching. 3 hours of waiting. 3 hours of not being able to do what every beaten part of her screamed she should do. "Not tonight," she whispered to the wind. "Not like this." She turned away from the cabin, away from Abraham Ashwood, away from 19 years of bruises and broken bones and silence that tasted like blood. Tonight she would run instead. The memory came without permission. They always did. 6 months earlier, when the Blue Ridge Mountains had been green instead of white, when she had still believed tomorrow might be different from yesterday. She had found the letter in the old trunk, hidden beneath her mother's wedding dress, the one that smelled of lavender and lies. The paper had been thin-yellowed, addressed to someone named Silas in handwriting she recognized, her mother's hand. Words of love, words of regret, words that proved everything Clara had suspected her entire life. Abraham had caught her reading it. His shadow fell across the page before his fist fell across her face. The first blow knocked her into the wall, the second cracked something in her ribs. She remembered the sound more than the pain, a snap, like green wood breaking. She remembered trying to curl up small, trying to become nothing, trying to disappear into the floorboards. His boot found her stomach. Once, twice. She stopped counting. "You think you can dig through my life?" His voice had been quiet. That was always worse than the shouting. When Abraham Ashwood went quiet, bones broke. "You think you deserve to know anything?" She had not screamed. Screaming only made it last longer. When he finally stopped, when he left her bleeding on the floor and walked out to wherever men like him went to wash the violence off their hands, Clara lay still. She stared at the ceiling beams, counted the knots in the wood, waited for her body to remember how to breathe without agony. That was when something inside her had shifted. Not broken, shifted like a lock tumbling open. She had spent 19 years surviving. Maybe it was time to do something else. Now, 6 months later, standing on a mountain ridge with a rifle she had not fired and a choice she had already made, Clara turned north, toward the deep wilderness, toward the place her mother had whispered about in fevered dreams before the sickness took her, before Abraham's accident with the stairs that no one questioned because no one cared enough to ask. "Find the man with the blue bird," her mother had said, her voice thin as paper, her hand cold in Clara's. "If you ever need to run, find him. He'll know you. He'll know." Clara had been 12 then. She had not understood. Now, 7 years later, with winter biting at her bones and murder heavy in her heart, she understood plenty. She started walking. The rifle hung across her back. A small pack carried everything she owned that mattered. A knife, matches, the letter. The memory of her mother's face before the bruises, before the fear, before Abraham Ashwood bought her like property and spent 20 years making her pay for not loving him back. The first hour of walking was easy. The second grew harder. By the third, Clara's legs burned and her breath came in ragged gasps that turned to ice in her lungs. The storm came fast. One moment the sky was clear enough to see stars. The next clouds rolled over the peaks like something living, something hungry. Snow began to fall, not the gentle kind, the kind that erased the world. Clara pushed forward. She had no choice. Behind her was death by Abraham's hand. Ahead was only the possibility of death by nature's indifference. She would take her chances with the snow. The wind picked up. It screamed through the trees, tearing at her coat, her hair, her resolve. She pulled her scarf tighter and kept moving. One foot, then another. That was all survival ever was. One step, then one more. She lost the trail somewhere in the white darkness. The world became nothing but wind and cold, and the terrible certainty that she had made a mistake, that running was just another way of dying. Her foot caught on something buried beneath the snow. She went down hard, hands out face scraping against frozen earth and pine needles. Pain shot through her already damaged ribs. She gasped and tasted blood. Get up, something inside her demanded. Get up or die here. She tried. Her legs would not obey. The cold had worked into her bones, turning muscle to stone. She managed to roll onto her back, staring up at the sky she could not see through the falling snow. This was it then. This was how Clara Ashwood's story ended. Not murdered by her father, just forgotten by the mountain. Maybe that was better. Maybe that was mercy. The growl came from her left, low, hungry. She turned her head slow, already knowing what she would see. Eyes, yellow, multiple pairs reflecting what little light existed in this frozen hell. The wolves moved through the trees like smoke circling patient. They had time. She did not. Clara's hand fumbled for the rifle. Her fingers were too numb. The strap caught on her shoulder. She pulled, desperate, finally getting the weapon free. The wolves stopped circling. They spread out, forming a crescent around her. The largest one, a male with a torn ear, took a step closer. Then another. She tried to raise the rifle. Her arms shook. The barrel wavered. She would get one shot, maybe, if her frozen fingers could work the trigger, if the powder was not too cold, if luck existed in a universe that had never shown her any. The wolf lowered its head, prepared to lunge. The gunshot split the night like a thunderclap, but Clara had not fired. The wolf yelped and scattered sideways, blood spraying across white snow. The pack broke, vanishing into the trees as another shot rang out, then another, driving them into the darkness. Silence fell, except for the wind, except for Clara's ragged breathing. A figure emerged from the trees, tall, broad-shouldered, moving with the kind of certainty that came from being exactly where you belonged. He carried a rifle, smoke still rising from the barrel. In the dim light, Clara could see gray hair tied back with leather, a face lined by weather and years, eyes that looked at her without surprise, without pity, without anything she could name. He did not speak. He walked to where she lay, looked down at her for a long moment, then gestured once. A simple motion. Follow. Clara tried to stand. Her legs gave out. The man slung his rifle across his back, bent down, and without asking permission, lifted her like she weighed nothing. His hands were careful, impersonal, the way you might carry an injured animal you intended to help but would never keep. She should have been afraid, should have fought, should have done something other than let this stranger carry her through a blizzard to God knew where. But her body had stopped listening to should. It only understood cold and pain and the simple animal relief of being picked up when you could not stand. The man walked without speaking. His breath came steady. His footsteps found solid ground beneath the snow with the ease of someone who knew this mountain like other men knew their own heartbeat. Clara's vision dimmed. The edges of the world went soft. She tried to fight it, tried to stay awake, tried to remember all the rules about trusting strangers and staying alert and never letting your guard down. But the cold was so heavy, and she was so tired. And for the first time in her life, someone was carrying her instead of dragging her. She let the darkness come. Warmth. That was the first thing. Heat against her skin, soaking through layers of cold that had settled so deep she had forgotten what it felt like to not shiver. Clara's eyes opened slowly. Above her, rough wooden beams crossed a low ceiling. Firelight danced across them, casting moving shadows that looked almost alive. The air smelled of wood smoke and something herbal. Pine, sage, something else she could not name. She tried to sit up. Pain lanced through her ribs, sharp enough to steal her breath. She gasped and fell back against something soft. Fur. Heavy pelts piled thick beneath her. Slow. The voice came from across the room. Deep, careful. Not cold, but not warm either. Somewhere in between, like water from a deep well. Clara turned her head. The man from the woods sat near the fire, his back to her, working on something with his hands. He did not turn around. "You broke ribs before tonight," he said. It was not a question. "Old break, healing wrong." Clara said nothing. Her throat was dry, her tongue felt thick. The man stood and turned. In the firelight, she could see him clearly now, 50s maybe. Gray hair pulled back severe. A scar ran down his right cheek, old and white, the kind that came from a blade, not an accident. His eyes were gray as winter sky. Not cruel, not kind, just watching. He crossed to her, moving with deliberate slowness, and set down a wooden cup. Steam rose from it. "Drink," he said. Then he stepped back, creating distance, giving her space. Clara stared at the cup, at him, at the small cabin that looked nothing like the place she had run from. Everything here was clean, ordered, the kind of space a person made when they lived alone by choice, not by force. She pushed herself up, ignoring the way her ribs screamed, reached for the cup. Her hands shook, but she managed to bring it to her lips. The liquid was bitter. Willow bark tea. She recognized the taste. Her mother used to make it. The man watched her drink. When she finished, he took the cup back without their fingers touching. "You can leave when the storm clears," he said. 3 days, maybe 4. "Where am I?" "North Ridge, 10 miles from anywhere." Clara looked around the cabin. 1 room, simple. A bed in the corner where she lay. A table. 2 chairs. Shelves lined with jars and dried herbs. A workbench near the window where wood shavings lay scattered. And on the wall, small but unmistakable, a carving. A bird. Blue paint faded, but still visible. Wings spread like it was caught mid-flight. Her heart stopped. "That bird," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The man followed her gaze. Something crossed his face. Too quick to read. He turned away. "Rest," he said. "We'll talk later." "No." Clara pushed herself up further, ignoring the pain. "We'll talk now. That bird, where did you get it?" The man went still. His back was to her, but she could see his shoulders tense. A long moment passed. Outside, the wind howled against the cabin walls. The fire crackled. "A woman I knew," he said finally. "Long time ago." "What woman?" He turned then, looked at her with those gray eyes that held something she could not name, something that looked like recognition, like grief. "What's your name?" he asked instead of answering. "Clara. Clara Ashwood." The man closed his eyes, just for a second. When he opened them again, something had changed, some decision made, some door opened that could not be closed. "My name is Silas," he said. "Silas Bain." The name meant nothing to her, but the way he said it, like a confession, like a curse, made her understand it should. "The woman who gave me that bird," Silas continued, his voice rough now, "was named Anna Ashwood." The world tilted. Clara's mother, her mother's name, her mother's maiden name before Abraham bought her like cattle and spent 20 years breaking her. "You knew my mother," Clara said. It was not a question. "I did." "How?" Silas walked to the window, looked out at the storm that raged beyond the glass. His reflection stared back at him, ghostly, tired. "I loved her," he said. Simple, final. "Before Abraham, before everything." Clara felt something crack open inside her chest. All the pieces that had never made sense. Her mother's sad eyes, the way she used to stare at the mountains like they held secrets. The letter, hidden in the trunk, the whispered words about a man with a blue bird. "She was supposed to marry me," Silas said, still looking out the window. "We had plans, a life." He paused. "Then her father sold her to Abraham. Cash deal. Abraham Ashwood had money. I had nothing but a name nobody wanted and skills nobody needed." "What kind of skills?" Silas's jaw tightened. "The kind that keep a man alive but kill his soul." He turned back to face her. In the firelight, his scar looked deeper. His eyes looked older. "Your mother tried to run," he said. "Night before the wedding. I was waiting for her at the ridge line, but Abraham caught her, brought her back." His hands clenched into fists. "I should have fought, should have taken her anyway. But I was a coward. I told myself it was the law, that a deal was a deal, that I had no right." "So you let her go," Clara said. Her voice sounded hollow, even to herself. "I let her go," Silas confirmed. "Biggest mistake I ever made." Silence fell between them, heavy, full of 20 years of what could have been. "Why are you telling me this?" Clara asked. Silas looked at her for a long time, really looked, like he was seeing past skin and bone to something underneath. "Because you have her eyes," he said quietly, "and because you deserve to know the truth." "What truth?" He crossed to a small chest near the bed, opened it, pulled out something wrapped in cloth. He handed it to Clara, careful not to touch her, then stepped back. Clara unwrapped it with trembling hands. Inside was a book, a journal. The leather cover was worn soft with age and handling. She opened it, her mother's handwriting, pages and pages of it. Her hands shook as she flipped through. Dates, entries, stories of a life Clara had never known, stories of love, of secret meetings, of plans made in the dark. And then, near the end, one entry that made her stop breathing. "The baby is his, not Abraham's, Silas's, but I can never tell. If Abraham knew, he would kill us both. So I will raise her in silence. I will love her enough for 2 parents. And I will hope that someday, when she is strong enough, she will find him. She will know the truth." Clara read it 3 times. The words did not change. She looked up at Silas. He stood across the cabin watching her, waiting. "You're my father," she said. Not a question, a statement of fact that rearranged her entire existence. "Yes?" "Does Abraham know?" Silas nodded slowly. "Your mother told him, when she was dying, when she thought confession might earn her peace." His voice went hard. "It didn't. It just gave him a new reason to hate you." Everything clicked into place. Every beating, every cruel word, every time Abraham looked at her with that particular kind of disgust. "He's been punishing me," Clara said, "for being yours." "Yes." Clara sat back against the furs. Her ribs ached. Her head spun. The entire foundation of her life had just been ripped away and rebuilt in the span of heartbeats. "Why didn't you come for me?" The question came out raw, childlike. The question of every abandoned daughter in history. Silas looked away. "By the time I found out you existed, you were 12. Your mother was dead. And I was—" he trailed off. "You were what—" He met her eyes again. "A wanted man." Clara went still. "Wanted for what?" Silas walked to the fire, stared into the flames like they held answers. "I told you I had skills," he said quietly. "Skills that keep a man alive but kill his soul." He paused. "I was an executioner for the federal government, traveled from town to town, hanged men, shot men. Whatever the law required." The words hung in the air like smoke. "How many?" Clara asked. 47. The number was too big to process. 47 necks, 47 last breaths. "Some deserved it," Silas continued, his voice flat, now factual. "Some didn't. I stopped asking questions after the first year, did what I was paid to do, became very good at not feeling anything." "What changed you, number 47? Silas's hands clenched. "A boy. 19. Same age as you now. Convicted of horse theft. Probably guilty. Definitely not worth killing. But the law said, hang him. So I did." He turned to face her. In his eyes, Clara saw something she recognized. The same thing she saw in her own reflection. The look of someone who had survived what should have destroyed them. "After that, I quit," Silas said. "Ran, hid, built this cabin as far from civilization as I could get. And I've been here ever since, trying to forget 47 faces that never go away." Clara absorbed this. Her father, the man her mother had loved, a professional killer who carved bluebirds and saved wolves' victims from dying in the snow. People were never simple. She was learning that. "Does anyone know you're here?" she asked. "A few. Most think I'm dead. I prefer it that way." Clara nodded slowly. "Abraham thinks I'm dead too, or will be soon. He won't look for me in a blizzard." "No," Silas agreed. "He won't." They looked at each other across the cabin, father and daughter, strangers connected by blood and secrets, and a dead woman who loved them both. "What happens now?" Clara asked. "You heal," Silas said. "Storm passes. You decide what comes next. And you—" He smiled, but it did not reach his eyes. "I do what I've always done. I survive, alone." "You're not alone anymore," Clara said quietly. Something flickered in Silas's face, something that might have been hope, if hope had learned to be careful. Before he could respond, a sound cut through the night. Not the wind, not the storm. Footsteps, outside, crunching through snow. Silas's hand went to a pistol Clara had not noticed on his belt. He moved to the window, careful keeping to the shadows. "Someone's here," he said, his voice gone cold and professional. The executioner's voice. "Stay down." Clara slid off the furs, ignoring her ribs, and grabbed the rifle she had carried. Checked it, still loaded. "I said stay down," Silas repeated. "No." He looked at her, saw the rifle, saw the set of her jaw. Whatever he read there made him nod once. They waited. The footsteps circled the cabin, slow, deliberate. Not someone lost in a storm, someone hunting. Then they stopped. Right outside the door. A knock. 3 times. Calm. "Silas Bain," a voice called. Young, male, controlled. "I know you're in there, and I know who you have with you." Clara's blood went cold. She looked at Silas. He looked back at her, and she saw the same question in his eyes she felt in her bones. "How?" "I'm not here to hurt the girl," the voice continued. "I'm here for you. Federal warrant, $5,000. Dead or alive." Silas's jaw clenched. His hand stayed on his pistol. "You have to the count of 10 to send her out," the voice said. "Then I come in, and federal law says I'm allowed to use any force necessary." "Don't," Clara whispered. 1. Silas looked at her, really looked, like he was memorizing her face. 2. "This is my choice," he said quietly, "not yours." 3. "I didn't survive 19 years to watch you die for me," Clara said. 4. "You survived 19 years so you could live," Silas said. "So live." 5. Clara raised the rifle, pointed it at the door. 6. Silas saw. His eyes went wide. "Don't." 7. "I'm not leaving," Clara said. Her voice did not shake. Not again. Not ever. 8. Silas studied her, saw something there, something that made him nod. 9. They stood together, father and daughter, killers both, ready. 10. The door exploded inward, not kicked, shot. Wood splintered and flew. A figure stood in the doorway, silhouetted by stormlight, pistol raised. Young, 26, maybe 27, blonde hair frozen with ice, eyes the color of deep water. A federal marshal's badge glinted on his coat. He looked at Silas, then at Clara. Something crossed his face. Recognition, confusion. "Put down the rifle," he said to Clara. Not unkind, just firm. "No," she said. His pistol stayed trained on Silas. "I don't want to hurt you, but that man is wanted by the federal government. 47 counts of wrongful execution, unlawful flight, 23 years missing." "He saved my life," Clara said. "I don't doubt it," the marshal said, "but the law doesn't care." "Then the law can go to hell." The marshal's mouth twitched, almost a smile. "Brave, stupid, but brave." He gestured with the pistol. "Step aside, last chance." "Shoot me first," Clara said, "because that's the only way you're getting to him." The marshal looked at her, really looked. His pistol wavered, just slightly. "What's your name?" he asked. "Clara Ashwood." Something changed in his face. His eyes went from her to Silas and back again, working through something. "Ashwood," he repeated. "Abraham Ashwood's daughter." "Unfortunately." "Abraham sent word this morning," the marshal said. $1,000 for your return. Said you were kidnapped by a dangerous mountain man. Message reached the federal office by noon." Clara laughed. It came out harsh. "I ran. Nobody took me." The marshal lowered his pistol slightly. "Why, because he beats me," Clara said simply. "Has since I was 7. Broke my ribs 6 months ago. I decided I would rather freeze to death than let him touch me again." The marshal was quiet. His pistol lowered more. "And Silas Bain?" he asked. "What's he to you?" Clara met Silas's eyes. Saw the warning there. The plea to lie, to protect herself. She ignored it. "My father," she said. "The real one." The marshal went still. His pistol dropped to his side. He stared at Silas with something new in his eyes, something complicated. "Well," he said finally, his voice strange, "that makes this interesting." "How so?" Silas asked. his first words since the door broke. The marshal smiled. It was not a happy expression. "Because, Silas," he said, "I'm your son." The world stopped. Clara looked from the marshal to Silas. Silas had gone pale. "Cole," Silas whispered. "Cole Morrison." The marshal nodded. "Been a long time, 20 years, since you left me and Mother to chase after a woman who didn't want you." "Cole," Silas said again, like the name hurt. "Don't," Cole said sharply. "You don't get to say my name like that, like you care. You left us. Mother died in poverty while you were playing house with your mistress." "I didn't know she died," Silas said, his voice breaking. "You didn't ask." Silence, thick, poisonous. Clara looked between them, father and son, both armed, both hurting, and her standing in the middle, the daughter that came after, the reason for betrayal. "So what now?" she asked quietly. Cole looked at her. His blue eyes were cold. "Now," he said, "we all have choices to make." He holstered his pistol, reached into his coat, pulled out a rolled paper, tossed it on the table. "That's the warrant," he said. $5,000 for Silas Bain, dead or alive. Enough money to change a life. He looked at Silas. "Or," Cole continued, "we make a different deal." "What kind of deal?" Silas asked. Cole smiled. It was cold as the storm outside. "Help me hunt the men who killed my partner," he said. 2 weeks. Then I decide whether to turn you in or let you disappear again. And if I refuse, then I shoot you here," Cole said simply. "Federal law allows it. And I take my sister somewhere safe while you bleed out in the snow." Clara's rifle came up. "Try it." Cole looked at her, really looked, and something in his expression softened. "You've got his eyes," he said quietly. "The fighting ones. Mother used to say that's what made her fall for him, the way he looked when backed into a corner." He shook his head. "Foolish woman." "Don't talk about her," Silas said. "I'll talk about whoever I want," Cole shot back. "You lost the right to tell me anything when you walked out our door and never came back." The air crackled with tension. 2 men, same blood, different mothers, 20 years of abandonment between them. Clara lowered her rifle slowly. "What men?" she asked Cole. "The ones who killed your partner." Cole looked at her. "Smugglers, weapons runners, operate out of the Western Ridge. 6 men, maybe more. They killed a federal marshal and left his body for wolves." "Why do you need Silas?" "Because they hide in places the law can't reach," Cole said. "And because your father knows these mountains better than anyone alive." "And after," Clara pressed. "After 2 weeks, what happens then?" Cole met her eyes. "Then I make a choice, same as tonight. I can arrest him. I can kill him. Or I can walk away and pretend I never found him." "Your word on that?" Silas asked. "My word," Cole said. "For what it's worth from a man you abandoned." Silas looked at Clara. She looked back. In his eyes, she saw the question. "What do you want me to do?" She thought about 19 years of Abraham's fists, about her mother's sad eyes, about blue birds and secrets, and the strange mercy of being saved by a man who killed for a living. "Do it," she said to Silas. "Help him." "Clara?" "Do it," she repeated. "And I'm coming with you." Both men spoke at once. "No, absolutely not." Clara smiled. It was not a kind expression. It was the smile of someone who had learned that the world would hurt you whether you fought back or not. Might as well fight. "I didn't ask permission," she said. "I'm telling you, you go after these men. I go too, or I walk back into that storm right now and take my chances." "You'll die," Cole said. "Maybe," Clara agreed, "but at least it'll be my choice." Silas closed his eyes, opened them, looked at his daughter. This girl he had not known existed until 7 years ago, this fierce thing that carried her mother's face and his stubbornness. "Anna would kill me," he said quietly. "Anna's dead," Clara replied. "And I'm not." Outside, the storm howled. Inside, 3 people stood in a circle of firelight and shared blood and broken history, making choices that would lead them into darkness. Together. Cole picked up the warrant, looked at it, then tossed it into the fire. The paper caught, burned, turned to ash. 2 weeks, he said. Then we settle this, all of it. Silas nodded once. Clara lowered her rifle completely. And somewhere in the mountains, men who did not yet know they were being hunted went about their business unaware that death was coming for them. Death with gray hair and old scars, death with blue eyes and a badge, and death with a rifle and nothing left to lose. The storm raged on, but inside the cabin something else was beginning, something that looked like family, even if none of them would admit it. Not yet. Dawn came gray and cold. The storm had passed during the night, leaving the world buried under 2 feet of fresh snow. Inside the cabin, nobody had slept. Cole Morrison sat at the table cleaning his pistol with methodical precision. Each movement was practiced automatic. The kind of ritual a man developed when staying alive depended on the weapon in his hand working perfectly every single time. Silas stood by the window watching the tree line, looking for tracks, for movement, for the danger that always came when you stopped expecting it. Clara lay on the furs pretending to rest, but her eyes were open, watching both men, learning them the way her mother had taught her to learn everything that might hurt you. Study it, understand it, know where it will strike before it moves. The silence was not comfortable. It was the silence of 3 people trapped together by circumstance, bound by blood they had not chosen, waiting for something to break. Cole spoke first. He did not look up from his pistol. "The men we are hunting," he said, his voice flat factual, "call themselves the Timberwolves. 6 confirmed members, maybe more. They run weapons from the coast to the Western Territories, rifles mostly, some dynamite, anything that kills efficiently and sells for triple its worth." Silas turned from the window. "Federal jurisdiction." "Was," Cole said. "Until they killed Marshal Hayes 3 weeks ago, caught him alone on the Ridge Trail, shot him, took his badge, left his body for the animals." His jaw tightened. "I found what was left of him 5 days later." Clara sat up slowly, ignoring the pain in her ribs. "Why haven't the Federals sent more men?" Cole's smile was bitter. "They did. 4 marshals, good men, all dead within a week. The Timberwolves know these mountains. They have lookouts, supply caches, places to hide that would take an army months to search. But not us," Silas said quietly. "No," Cole agreed. "Not you. You know places the maps do not show. Caves, passes, the routes people take when they do not want to be found." "Because I used them," Silas said. "Yes." Silas crossed to the table, looked down at his son. 20 years had carved lines into Cole's face that should not have been there yet. Hard years, lonely years. "What happened to you?" Silas asked. "After I left." Cole's hands stopped moving. He looked up. His blue eyes were cold as lake ice. "You do not get to ask that," he said. "You lost that right when you chose her over us." "I loved your mother," Silas said. "Not enough." The words hung between them like a blade. "You are right," Silas said finally. "I did not love her enough. I married her because I was expected to. Because she was kind and I was alone and it seemed like the decent thing to do. But I never loved her the way a man should love his wife." Cole stood. His chair scraped against the floor. "So you left." "So I left," Silas confirmed. "And I am sorry. That word means nothing after 20 years. I know that, but it is all I have." Cole stared at him. Then he laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "Sorry," he repeated. "You are sorry." He turned away, walked to the fire, stared into the flames. "Mother died when I was 14. Fever took her. We had no money for a doctor. I held her hand while she burned up from the inside. She called your name, right at the end. Not mine. Yours." Silas closed his eyes. "After that," Cole continued, "I did what I had to do. Worked, survived. Learned to fight because the world does not care about orphaned boys. Got good at it. Good enough that the marshals noticed. Gave me a badge at 19. Told me I had a future." He turned back to face Silas. "So I built one. Without you. And it was fine. I was fine." His voice dropped. "Until Hayes died. Until I saw the name on the old warrant. Silas Bain, executioner, last seen in these mountains 20 years ago." "You came looking for me," Silas said. "I came to collect," Cole corrected. $5,000. Enough to start over somewhere. The dead do not follow." Clara stood. Her ribs protested, but she ignored them. She walked to stand beside Silas facing Cole. "And now?" she asked. Cole looked at her, really looked. And something in his expression shifted. Not softening exactly, but changing. "Now," he said. "I have a sister I did not know existed, and a father who is more myth than man, and a choice to make." "What choice?" Clara asked. "Whether blood matters more than justice." The room fell silent. Outside, a crow called. Harsh. Final. Silas spoke quietly. "What do you need from me?" Cole walked back to the table, unrolled a map. It was hand-drawn, rough but detailed. He pointed to a spot in the western ridges. "The timber wolves have a main camp here, old trapping station, been abandoned for years, perfect for men who want to disappear." "You have been there?" Silas asked. "Close enough to scout, not close enough to see inside. They have sentries, good ones. Ex-military, probably. They work in shifts. Never less than 2 watching the approaches." Silas studied the map. His finger traced invisible lines only he could see. "There is a creek bed here, runs north. If it has not frozen completely, a man could follow it. Come up behind the camp. In daylight. No, dusk, when the light plays tricks." Cole nodded slowly. "Give me 3 days," Silas said. "I need to prepare, and she needs to be ready." He gestured to Clara. Cole looked at her, then back at Silas. "She is not coming," Cole said. "Yes," Clara said, "I am. You will get killed." "Maybe," Clara agreed. "But I am tired of hiding while men decide my future." Cole opened his mouth to argue. Silas raised a hand. "She is coming," he said. "Because if I say no, she will follow anyway, and that will get us all killed." Cole stared at Clara. She stared back. She did not blink. Finally, Cole nodded. 3 days. Then we move." The training began that afternoon. Silas led Clara outside into the snow. The cold bit through her coat, but she did not complain. Complaining was weakness. Weakness got you hurt. He handed her the rifle. "Show me how you shoot." Clara took it. The weight was familiar now. She had carried it through the storm. She knew its balance, its feel. "There," Silas said, pointing to a dead tree 50 yards away. "The knothole. Center mass." Clara raised the rifle, sighted, breathed out slowly the way her mother had taught her when they hunted rabbits for dinner. Abraham never knew. Men like him did not think women should know how to kill. She pulled the trigger. The shot cracked across the clearing. Snow exploded from the tree, 6 inches left of the target. "Again," Silas said. She loaded, aimed, fired, 4 inches right. Again, load, aim, fire, 2 inches high. Again. This time the shot punched through the center of the knothole. "Clean." Silas nodded. "Good, now do it faster." They worked through the afternoon, loading, firing, reloading, until Clara's shoulder ached from the kick, until her hands knew the movements without thought, until speed became instinct. Then Silas handed her a knife. "Shooting is good," he said. "But shooting makes noise, and noise brings death." He showed her how to hold it, how to move, not wild, not desperate, controlled, precise. "You are smaller," he said. "Weaker. That is your advantage." "How is being weak an advantage?" "Because men expect weakness. They get careless." He demonstrated. "You do not fight strength with strength. You fight it with speed, with surprise. You go for the throat, the eyes, the places that make a man forget he is stronger." Clara practiced. The movements felt wrong at first, too violent, too deliberate, but Silas was patient. He corrected her grip, her stance, her breathing. "Violence is a language," he said, "and right now you are learning to speak it." Cole watched from the cabin doorway. His expression was unreadable. On the second day, Silas taught Clara how to move through the forest without sound, how to step, where to place her weight, how to read the land for danger. "The mountain talks," he said, "if you know how to listen." He showed her bird calls, the ones that meant all clear, the ones that meant predator, the ones that meant run. "Men are just another kind of predator," Silas said, "and they leave signs, broken branches, disturbed snow, the smell of tobacco, fear." "Can you smell fear?" Clara asked. "Always," Silas said. "It smells like sweat and bad decisions." That night, after Cole had gone to check the perimeter, Silas sat beside Clara near the fire. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small wooden box, set it on the ground between them. "Open it," he said. Clara lifted the lid. Inside, wrapped in cloth, was a necklace. silver chain, a pendant shaped like a bird. Blue enamel faded, but still beautiful. And beneath it, a letter. The paper was yellowed, creased from being folded and unfolded countless times. Clara picked up the letter with shaking hands, unfolded it. Her mother's handwriting filled the page. "My dearest Silas," it began. "If you are reading this, it means I am gone, and it means our daughter survived long enough to find you. I pray she did. I pray you were there when she needed you." Clara's vision blurred. She blinked hard, kept reading. "I have made many mistakes. Marrying Abraham was the worst. But staying was necessary, because of her, because I could not let him take her from me the way my father took me from you. I know he hurts her. I see the bruises she tries to hide. I hear her cry when she thinks I am sleeping, and I hate myself for not being strong enough to leave, for not being brave enough to fight. But I am leaving her something, the truth, the knowledge that she came from love, not from obligation, that somewhere in these mountains a man exists who would have cherished her, who would have protected her, who would have taught her to be strong. Find her, Silas, when I am gone. Find her and give her the choice I never had, the choice to be free." The letter was signed simply, Anna. Clara folded it carefully, placed it back in the box. Her hands were steady, but her chest felt like it was breaking open. "She wrote that 2 weeks before she died," Silas said quietly. "Sent it to me with a traveling merchant. By the time I got it, she was already gone. Did you try to find me?" "Yes, I came to the house. Abraham met me at the door with a shotgun. Said if I came back he would kill you. Said the law would call it his right. A father protecting his property." "So you left," Clara said. "No accusation, just fact." "I left," Silas confirmed, "because I believed him. Because I was a coward twice over." He looked at her. "I will not be a coward again." Clara reached out, took the necklace, put it around her neck. The weight of it was light, but it felt like armor. "Thank you," she said. They sat in silence. The fire crackled. Outside wind moved through the trees. Cole returned an hour later. He stamped snow from his boots and crossed to warm his hands at the fire. He glanced at Clara, saw the necklace. His eyes lingered on it for a moment, then moved away. "We need to talk," he said to Silas. "About what?" Cole pulled a chair close to the fire, sat. His expression was complicated. "About why I really came here," he said. Silas went still. "I thought you came for the bounty." "I did," Cole said. "At first, $5,000, enough to disappear. Start fresh." He paused. "But that was before I knew about her." He gestured to Clara. "What difference does that make?" Clara asked. Cole looked at her. In the firelight, his blue eyes looked almost kind. "Because you are my sister," he said simply. "Half-sister, same blood, different mothers, but family nonetheless." "Family you did not know existed until yesterday," Clara pointed out. "True," Cole agreed, "but knowing changes things." "How?" Cole leaned forward. "Abraham Ashwood posted a bounty for your return, $1,000. Said you were kidnapped by a dangerous mountain man." "I was not kidnapped," Clara said flatly. "I know, but Abraham does not care about truth. He cares about control." Cole's jaw tightened. "I have dealt with men like him before. They do not let go. Ever." "So what are you saying?" Silas asked. Cole met his father's eyes. "I am saying that even if we survive the timber wolves, even if I decide not to turn you in, Clara still has a problem. Abraham will hunt her. He will use the law. He will use money. He will use whatever he has to until he gets her back." "Then we run," Clara said. "Where?" Cole asked. "How far Abraham has reach. Connections. You think the mountains are far enough. They are not. Not from a man with resources and rage." Silas stood, paced. His mind was working through possibilities, angles, solutions. "What do you suggest?" he asked Cole. "I suggest we end it," Cole said. "Permanently." The word hung in the air like smoke. "You are talking about murder," Silas said. "I am talking about justice," Cole corrected. "There is a difference." "Is there?" Silas asked. "I killed 47 men in the name of justice. It still felt like murder." Cole shook his head. "Those men had trials, lawyers, appeals. Abraham Ashwood beats a girl for 19 years, and the law does nothing. Where is the justice in that?" Silas had no answer. Clara spoke quietly. "If we kill him, we become what he is." "No," Cole said, looking at her. "We become what he made necessary." Silence fell. Heavy, full of moral weight that had no easy resolution. Finally, Silas spoke. "First we deal with the timber wolves, then we decide about Abraham." Cole nodded. "Agreed." The third day arrived with clear skies and bitter cold. Silas declared Clara ready, not perfect, but ready enough. They prepared to leave at dusk. Weapons, supplies, the knowledge that some of them might not come back. As the sun began to sink toward the western peaks, Cole pulled on his coat and checked his pistol one last time. He looked at Silas. "One question," he said, "before we do this." "Ask it." "If you could go back," Cole said, "back to when you left Mother and me, would you choose differently?" Silas was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was honest. "I do not know," he said. "I loved Anna more than breathing, but I should have loved your mother better. Should have loved you better." He paused. "The only choice I know I got right was saving Clara." Cole nodded slowly. "That is fair." They left the cabin as the light began to fail. 3 figures moving through the snow, silent, purposeful, connected by blood and necessity, and the shared understanding that violence was sometimes the only language the world understood. The trek took 4 hours. They moved slowly, carefully. Silas led, following paths only he could see. Cole brought up the rear, watching for pursuit. Clara stayed in the middle, learning, absorbing, becoming. They reached the ridge overlooking the old trapping station as full dark settled. Below, firelight flickered through cracks in boarded windows. Smoke rose from a chimney. Voices carried on the cold air. Laughter. The sounds of men who felt safe. They were not safe. Silas pointed. 2 sentries, one near the main building, one by the supply shed. They carried rifles, moved with the casual confidence of men who had done this many times before. Cole leaned close, whispered, "The creek bed approach." Silas nodded. They moved down the slope. The creek was partially frozen but still flowing beneath the ice. They followed it, boots crunching softly on snow until they were behind the camp. Silas raised his hand. "Stop." They waited, watching, learning the rhythm of the guards, how often they checked the perimeter, where they looked, where they did not. After 20 minutes, Silas moved, silent as winter wind. Clara watched him go, watched him reach the first sentry, watched the brief struggle that ended with a knife and silence. Cole went for the second guard. Faster. Efficient. The man dropped without a sound. Clara's heart pounded. She had seen death before. Her mother, animals, but this was different. This was deliberate. This was hunting. Silas waved her forward. She moved on shaking legs. Reached the back wall of the main building. Cole produced a small pry bar, worked it into the boards covering a window. Slow. Quiet. The wood creaked but did not break. He pulled. The board came free. Inside voices continued. Unaware. Cole climbed through first, then Silas, then Clara. They found themselves in a storage room. Crates lined the walls. Clara could see markings. Federal property, stolen goods. Silas moved to the door, listened, then opened it a crack. The main room beyond was large. A dozen men sat around tables drinking playing cards. Rifles leaned against walls, pistols on hips. The timber wolves, relaxed, confident. Overconfident, Cole whispered. "We need proof. Something to tie them to Hayes's murder." Silas pointed. A desk in the corner, papers scattered across it. Maybe something there. Clara moved before either man could stop her. She crossed the storage room to a second door, opened it carefully, found herself in a small office. And there on the desk was a ledger. She opened it. Names, dates, transactions, all written in neat handwriting. She flipped pages, looking for anything that might help. And then she saw it. A name that made her blood freeze. Abraham Ashwood. Not as a victim, as a member. Listed payments, weapons purchased, deliveries made. Her father was not being hunted by these men. He was one of them. Clara's hands shook. She turned more pages, found more. Abraham had been with the Timberwolves for 3 years. He was not in debt. He was in business. And he had tried to sell Clara to cover a weapons deal that went bad. She tore the relevant pages from the ledger, folded them, tucked them inside her coat. A floorboard creaked behind her. Clara spun. A man stood in the doorway, big, bearded. a pistol in his hand. "Well," he said, grinning. "What do we have here?" Clara's hand went to her knife, but the man was faster. He lunged, grabbed her wrist, twisted. The knife fell. "Boys," he called out, "we got a visitor." Everything happened at once. The door to the main room burst open. Men poured through. Silas came from the storage room, pistol drawn. Cole followed. Gunfire exploded, deafening in the confined space. Clara drove her elbow into the bearded man's throat. He gagged. She grabbed his pistol, spun, fired. The bullet caught him in the chest. He fell backward, eyes wide with surprise. Clara stared at the body, at the blood spreading across the floor, at what she had done. She had killed a man. No time to process. No time to feel. Silas grabbed her arm, pulled her behind an overturned table. More gunfire. Wood splintered. Glass shattered. Men shouted. Cole returned fire methodically. One shot, one body. Another shot. Another body. The federal marshal earning his badge. But there were too many. The Timberwolves had numbers, position. They were pushing forward, forcing Silas, Cole, and Clara back toward the storage room. "Go!" Silas shouted. "The window!" Cole went first. Then he turned to help Clara through. A hand grabbed her ankle. One of the Timberwolves, face bloody, still fighting. Clara kicked once, twice. Her boot connected with his jaw. He let go. She tumbled through the window, landed hard in the snow. Silas came after her. They ran. Bullets chased them, chewed up snow and bark and the frozen earth. They made it to the tree line, kept running. Did not stop until the sounds of pursuit faded. Finally, gasping, they collapsed behind a fallen log. Clara's hands shook. She stared at them, saw blood, not hers, the bearded man's, the man she killed. "First time is always hardest," Silas said quietly. "Does it get easier?" Clara asked. "No," he said. "But you learn to carry it." Cole checked his ammunition. "We got what we needed." Clara pulled the folded papers from her coat, handed them to him. He read by moonlight. His expression darkened. "Abraham Ashwood," he said. "He is one of them." "Yes," Clara said. Her voice was hollow. Cole looked at her. "Did you know?" "No, I thought he was a victim. Turns out he's just a criminal." Silas took the papers. "Read them." His jaw clenched. "This changes things," he said. "How?" Clara asked. "Because now we know the truth," Silas said. "Abraham did not want you back because you are his daughter. He wanted you back because you are evidence. You know too much. You have seen too much." "So he would kill me," Clara said. Statement, not question. "Eventually," Silas agreed. "After he made sure you told no one what you knew," Clara stood, brushed snow from her coat. Her ribs ached. Her hands still shook, but her voice was steady. "Then we finish this," she said. "We take this evidence to the Federals. We end Abraham. We end all of it." Cole shook his head. "It is not that simple." "Why not?" "Because Abraham has connections, money, the kind of influence that makes evidence disappear, makes witnesses disappear." "Then what do we do?" Clara asked. Before anyone could answer, a sound cut through the night. Horses, moving fast. Coming from the direction of the cabin. They went silent, listening. Voices carried on the wind, shouting, organized. Not the timber wolves, someone else. Silas moved to higher ground, looked back toward where they had come from. His face went pale. "What is it?" Cole asked. "Riders," Silas said. 10, maybe 12, coming from the east. "The timber wolves." "No, these are professionals, mercenaries." Clara felt ice form in her stomach. "Abraham." "Yes," Silas confirmed. "He must have hired them to find you." They started moving. Fast. Back toward the cabin. If they could reach it first, they might have a chance. But they were too late. As they crested the final ridge, they saw horses circled around Silas's cabin, men in dark coats, well armed, well trained. And standing in the center, bound and gagged, was a young woman. For a heartbeat, Clara thought it was her own reflection somehow. Same height, same dark hair, same terror in her eyes. A decoy. Abraham had found someone who looked enough like Clara to use as bait. One of the mercenaries stepped forward, tall, scarred. He held a torch high. "Silas Bain," he called out. "I know you're out there. I know you can hear me." Silence. "I have something you want," the man continued. He gestured. Two mercenaries dragged a smaller figure forward, threw her to the ground. Clara, except Clara was standing next to Silas, which meant no. The figure on the ground looked up. Even at a distance, Clara could see the terror in her eyes, could see the bruises, could see herself 7 years younger. It was not her, but it was close enough. A decoy, someone Abraham had sent to lure them out. The mercenary leader smiled. "You have 1 hour," he called. "Come down and surrender, or we start cutting pieces off the girl and leave them for you to find." He turned, walked back toward the cabin. The other mercenaries followed, taking the girl with them. Silence fell. Cole looked at Silas. "It is a trap." "I know," Silas said. "We should leave. Circle around. Come back with help." "There is no time," Silas said. Clara spoke quietly. "It is me they want. I should go down." "No," both men said at once. "They will kill you," Silas added. "They will kill her," Clara said, gesturing toward the cabin. "That girl, whoever she is bait, but she is also someone's daughter, someone Abraham grabbed to use against us." She started forward. Silas grabbed her arm. "I did not save you so you could throw your life away," he said. Clara looked at him, at this man who was her father, who had taught her to survive, to fight, to be something more than a victim. "You taught me to make hard choices," she said. "This is mine." She pulled free, started down the slope. "Clara," Silas called. She did not stop. Behind her she heard Cole say, "We follow, at a distance, wait for an opening." "There might not be one," Silas said. "Then we make one." Clara walked toward the cabin, toward the mercenaries, toward whatever came next. Her hand touched the necklace at her throat, the bluebird, her mother's gift, her father's promise. She was done running. One way or another, this ended tonight. Clara walked down the slope with her hands raised, the snow crunched beneath her boots. Each step felt both too fast and impossibly slow. Behind her, hidden in the tree line, Silas and Cole watched, waiting, planning, hoping for a miracle that might not come. The mercenaries saw her approaching, rifles swung in her direction. A dozen barrels, a dozen chances to die before she reached the bottom. The leader stepped forward, the one with the scar. He was older than Clara had first thought. 50, maybe, with the kind of face that had seen too much and felt too little. His eyes swept over her with professional assessment. "Smart girl," he said. "Saves everyone some trouble." "Let her go," Clara said, nodding toward the bound figure near the cabin. The girl who had been used as bait. Up close, Clara could see she was younger, 16 at most, terrified. The scarred man smiled. "Not how this works." "Then how does it work?" "You come with us. Quiet. No struggle. We deliver you to Abraham Ashwood. He pays us. We leave. The girl goes free. And if I fight," the man shrugged. "Then you both die, and we still get paid. Abraham said dead or alive. Alive just pays better." Clara looked at the girl, at the fear in her eyes, at the bruises already forming on her wrists where the ropes cut too tight. "What is your name?" Clara asked her. The girl's mouth was gagged. She could not answer, but her eyes spoke volumes. "Please, help me. Do not let them hurt me." Clara had seen those eyes before, in her mother's face, in her own reflection. She turned back to the scarred man. "I will come, but you let her go first. Not a chance." "Then shoot me now," Clara said, "because I am not moving until that girl is safe." The mercenary studied her, trying to decide if she meant it. Clara met his gaze, steady, unblinking. She meant every word. Finally the man gestured. One of his men cut the girl's bonds, removed the gag, shoved her toward the tree line. "Run," he said. The girl stumbled, caught herself, looked back at Clara with something like gratitude, like disbelief that anyone would trade themselves for a stranger. Then she ran. Clara watched her disappear into the darkness, felt something settle in her chest. Not peace, but purpose. She had saved one person. That was something. That was more than nothing. "Your turn," the scarred man said. Two mercenaries grabbed Clara's arms, pulled them behind her back. Rope bit into her wrists. They were not gentle, but they were not cruel either, just professional. Doing a job. They led her toward a horse, lifted her into the saddle. tied her hands to the pommel so she could not jump, could not run. The scarred man mounted his own horse. "Move out," he called. The group began to ride, east, toward lower ground, toward civilization, toward Abraham Ashwood. Clara twisted in the saddle, looked back at the ridge where she knew Silas and Cole were hidden. She could not see them, but she felt them, watching, following. She hoped they were smart enough to stay back, smart enough to live. She also hoped they were foolish enough to come for her. The ride took hours, through the night, through valleys Clara had never seen. The mercenaries rode in formation, professional, alert. These were not amateurs. These were men who had done this before, many times. As dawn broke gray and cold, they descended into a valley Clara recognized, the Ashwood Valley, where she had been born, where she had grown up, where she had learned that home was just another word for prison. In the distance she could see it, Ashwood Manor, the house Abraham had built with money from weapons deals and human suffering. It looked the same. 3 stories, white columns, the appearance of respectability wrapped around a core of rot. Her stomach turned. The mercenaries rode up the long drive, stopped at the front steps. The scarred man dismounted, walked to the door, knocked. It opened immediately, as if someone had been waiting, watching. Abraham Ashwood stepped out into the morning light. He looked older, thinner. His hair had gone more gray, but his eyes were the same, cold, calculating, empty of anything resembling love or mercy. He saw Clara, smiled. It was not a kind expression. "Daughter," he said, "welcome home." Clara said nothing. Abraham walked down the steps, circled the horse, looking at her like she was livestock, property to be inspected before purchase. "You have caused me considerable trouble," he said. "Running off? Stealing? Associating with criminals?" "I learned from the best," Clara said. Abraham's hand moved fast. The slap cracked across her face. Her head snapped sideways. Blood filled her mouth. "Still defiant," Abraham said. "Good. I was worried the mountain had broken you. Where is the fun in that?" The scarred mercenary cleared his throat. "Our payment." Abraham gestured toward the house. "Inside. Count it if you like." The mercenary nodded to his men. They dismounted. 3 of them went inside. The others stayed, watching, making sure this was a clean transaction. Abraham turned back to Clara. "We have much to discuss, about loyalty, about consequences, about what happens to daughters who forget their place." "I was never your daughter," Clara said. Abraham smiled. "True. But you were my responsibility, my property. The law agrees. A man has rights over what is his. I belong to no one. We will see." The mercenaries emerged from the house. The leader nodded. "Payment confirmed." "Then our business is concluded," Abraham said. "You may go." The scarred man looked at Clara. Something flickered in his expression. Not quite guilt, but close. "Girl," he said, "for what it is worth, I am sorry." "No, you are not," Clara said, "but you will be." The mercenary frowned. But he did not ask what she meant. He mounted his horse, gestured to his men. They rode away down the long drive, leaving Clara alone with Abraham. Abraham grabbed her arm, pulled her off the horse. She landed hard. Pain shot through her still healing ribs. "Inside," he said. He dragged her up the steps, through the door, into the house she had fled months ago. Nothing had changed. The same furniture, the same smell, tobacco and whiskey, and the lingering scent of fear that had soaked into the walls over 20 years. Abraham pulled her into the main parlor, shoved her into a chair, produced chains from somewhere, heavy iron. He locked them around her wrists, around her ankles, secured them to the chair. "Cannot have you running again," he said. "Not until we are finished talking." "What is there to talk about?" Abraham poured himself a whiskey, drank it in one swallow, poured another. "The ledger," he said. "The one you stole from the timber wolves." Clara kept her face neutral. "I do not know what you mean." "Please," Abraham said. "Do not insult my intelligence. My associates told me about the break-in, about the missing pages, about the girl who matched your description." He sat down across from her, studied her with those cold eyes. "You know now," he said, "about my business, about the weapons, about everything your mother spent 20 years trying not to see." "She saw," Clara said. She just could not do anything about it. True? Abraham agreed. Anna was weak. Beautiful, but weak. That is why I married her. I needed a wife who would not ask questions, who would give me a respectable appearance while I built something real. You built nothing, Clara said. You are a criminal, a coward who beats women and sells death. Abraham's smile widened. And yet I am rich, powerful, connected. While you are chained to a chair, who is the coward now? Clara leaned forward as far as the chains allowed. You are. You always were. That is why you hit my mother. Why you hit me. Because deep down you know you are nothing. Just a small man with small power who can only feel big when someone else is afraid. Abraham stood, crossed to her. His hand went to his belt. Clara braced herself for the blow, but it did not come. Instead, Abraham laughed. You think you can make me angry? Make me lose control. He shook his head. I am past anger, Clara. I am past everything except pragmatism. What does that mean? It means I do not want you back because I love you. I do not want you back because you are my daughter. He paused. I want you back because you are evidence, and evidence needs to be eliminated. Clara's blood went cold. You are going to kill me. Eventually, Abraham confirmed, but not yet. First, you are going to tell me who you showed that ledger to, who knows about my involvement with the Timberwolves, who might cause me problems. I told no one. Liar, Abraham said pleasantly, but that is fine. We have time, days if necessary. I can be very patient when I need to be. He walked to the door, turned back. The chains are strong, he said. The doors are locked. The windows are barred. Scream if you like. No one will hear. No one will come. He smiled. You are home now, Clara, and this time you will not leave. The door closed. A key turned in the lock. Clara was alone. She tested the chains. They held. Heavy iron. Well made. Abraham had planned this carefully. She looked around the room, searching for anything. A loose board, a forgotten tool, anything that might help. Nothing. Her breath came faster. Panic started to rise. She forced it down. Panic was the enemy. Panic killed. Think. Silas had taught her to think, to assess, to find the weakness in any situation. The chains were strong, but chains had to be anchored to something. She looked down. The chair was bolted to the floor. Recent work. Abraham had prepared this room specifically for her, but bolts could be loosened, given time, given leverage. Clara shifted her weight, tested the chair. It creaked but held. She would need hours, maybe days. She did not have days. Outside she heard voices, men arriving, the sound of horses, more mercenaries, or the Timberwolves coming to tie up loose ends. Footsteps in the hallway, multiple sets. Coming closer, the door opened. But it was not Abraham. It was Silas. And Cole. Both men were bloody. Cole's shoulder was bandaged. Silas had a cut across his forehead. But they were alive. They were here. Silas crossed to her immediately, produced a set of lockpicks, started working on the chains. How did you find me? Clara asked. Followed the mercenaries, Cole said. He stood by the door, pistol drawn, watching the hallway. Waited until they left, then came in the back way. Abraham knows you are here. He will soon, Silas said. The first chain fell away. He moved to the second. We need to move fast. The third chain came free. Clara stood. Her legs were stiff, but she ignored the pain. Where is he? She asked. Upstairs, Cole said. Getting more men together. He knows we are coming. Then why wait? Clara asked. Silas and Cole exchanged a look. Because it is a trap, Silas said. He wants us to come up, wants us all in one place. So what do? We give him what he wants, Cole said, but on our terms. They moved into the hallway. Silas led. Clara followed. Cole brought up the rear, walking backward, watching for pursuit. The house was too quiet. The kind of quiet that meant danger was holding its breath. They reached the stairs, started up. Each step creaked, announcing their presence, their progress. At the top, a hallway stretched in both directions. Doors lined it, all closed. Anyone could hide an enemy. Which room? Silas asked. The study, Clara said. End of the hall. That is where he kept his important things. They moved forward. Slow, weapons ready. The study door was open. Light spilled out. Inviting, dangerous. Silas looked at Clara. "Are you ready?" She nodded. They entered together. Abraham sat behind his desk. A pistol lay in front of him, within easy reach, but he made no move toward it. "Silas," he said pleasantly, "after all these years, you look well." "Abraham," Silas replied. His voice was flat, empty of emotion. Abraham's eyes moved to Cole. "And a federal marshal! My, this is quite the gathering." He gestured to chairs. "Please, sit. Let us be civilized about this." "We are not here to talk," Cole said. "No." Abraham raised an eyebrow. "Then why are you here? To kill me?" "You could have done that from the hallway, but you came in, which means you want something." Silas spoke. "I want you to let her go, forever. Drop the bounty. Stop hunting her. Let Clara live her life." Abraham laughed. "And in return, I walk away, disappear. You never see me again." "And if I refuse, then I kill you," Silas said simply. "Right here, right now." Abraham considered this. "You would murder me in front of a federal marshal. I would call it justice," Silas said. "The law might disagree." Cole spoke up. "The law would have to prove it. Hard to do when there are no witnesses." Abraham's smile faded. He looked between the three of them. Seeing the truth, this was not a negotiation. This was a final offer. "You know what I find interesting," Abraham said. "Anna spent 20 years trying to protect you, Clara, trying to shield you from who I really was, what I really did." He paused. "She never understood that I was protecting you too." "Protecting me," Clara's voice was cold. "You beat me, starved me, broke my bones." "Yes," Abraham agreed, "because if I had shown you kindness, if I had been gentle, you would have grown soft, weak, like your mother." He leaned forward. "But I made you hard. I made you a survivor. Everything you are, everything you became, you owe to me." Clara stared at him, at this man who had tortured her and called it love, who had broken her and called it teaching. "You are right," she said quietly. "You did make me what I am." She pulled the pistol from her coat, the one she had taken from the bearded mercenary, the one she had killed a man with. "And what I am," she continued, "is someone who will never let you hurt anyone again." She aimed at Abraham's head. Her hand was steady, her finger on the trigger. Abraham did not flinch. "Do it," he said. "Become me, become Silas, become a killer. Prove that I was right, that violence is the only language that matters." "Clara," Silas said, warning, pleading. She ignored him, stared at Abraham, at 19 years of pain and fear compressed into one moment, one choice: kill him. It would be easy. It would be just. It would be final. Her finger tightened on the trigger. Time slowed. She saw her mother's face. Sad. Tired. Begging Clara to be better. To choose differently. She saw Silas, the man who had killed 47 people and spent 20 years trying to wash the blood from his hands. She saw Cole, the lawman trying to balance justice and mercy in a world that rarely allowed both. And she saw herself, not as Abraham had made her, but as she could be, as she was choosing to become. Clara lowered the pistol. "No," she said, "I will not kill you, Abraham, not because you deserve mercy, but because I deserve better than carrying your death for the rest of my life." She stepped back, turned toward the door. "I am leaving," she said, "and you are going to let me, because if you come after me, if you send more mercenaries, if you do anything except forget I exist, then Silas will come back, and Cole will look the other way, and you will die alone in this house you built on blood." She walked to the door. Abraham's voice stopped her. "You think you are free? You think you won?" Clara turned back. "I think I chose. That is enough." Abraham's hand moved fast, the pistol on his desk, rising, aiming, at Clara's back. The gun fired. But Silas was already moving. He threw himself between them. The bullet meant for his daughter tore through his chest instead. The impact spun him around. Blood sprayed. He fell. Cole's pistol came up. One shot. Clean. Perfect. The bullet took Abraham in the center of his chest. He fell back in his chair, eyes wide, blood spreading across his expensive shirt. His mouth worked, trying to speak, to curse, to do something other than die. But death did not wait. His eyes went dim. His breath stopped. Abraham Ashwood died in his study, surrounded by the wealth he had built on other people's suffering. Clara crawled to Silas. He lay on the floor. Blood pooled beneath him. Too much blood. "No," she said. "No, no, no." She pressed her hands to the wound, trying to stop the bleeding, but it poured through her fingers, warm, sticky, life draining away. Silas looked up at her. His gray eyes were already fading. "You chose right," he said. His voice was weak, distant. "You chose to be better." "Do not leave me," Clara said. Tears ran down her face. "Please, I just found you." Silas smiled. "You found yourself. That is what matters." He reached into his coat, pulled out something, pressed it into her hand. A key. "The cabin," he said. "The land, it is yours. Build something I never could. A home without blood." "Dad," Clara said. The word felt strange on her tongue. Right. Final. "Dad, please." "I am proud of you," Silas whispered. "Tell your mother I am sorry. Tell her I tried to make it right." His hand fell. His breathing stopped. Silas Bain died on the floor of his enemy's house, having given his life for his daughter. Clara held him, rocked back and forth, crying, keening. The sound of grief too large for words. Cole stood nearby, silent, his pistol still in his hand, his face wet with tears he did not try to hide. "We should go," he said finally, gently. "The gunshots. Someone will come." "I cannot leave him," Clara said. "We will come back," Cole promised. "We will bury him properly, I swear it. But right now we need to go." Clara looked down at Silas, at the man who had saved her, taught her, loved her the only way he knew how. She kissed his forehead, closed his eyes. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything." Cole helped her stand. They left the study, left Abraham's body cooling in his chair, left the house of horrors that had held Clara prisoner for 19 years. They walked out into the morning light, free. But freedom came at a price, and Clara would carry that price for the rest of her life. 2 years later. The cabin sat in a clearing high in the Blue Ridge Mountains, but it was not the same cabin Silas had built. This one was larger, newer, with space for more than one person. Clara stood on the porch watching the sunrise paint the peaks gold and red. She wore the blue bird necklace, always, a reminder of where she came from, who she had lost. Inside sounds of movement, people waking, starting their day. Clara had kept Silas's land, but she had built something new on it, a place for women who needed to run, to hide, to heal, a network of safe houses stretching across 3 states. Funded by Abraham's confiscated wealth, run by survivors who understood. She called it the Bluebird Network. No one questioned the name. Cole had been instrumental. After Abraham's death, he had taken the ledger to the federal authorities, used it to dismantle the timber wolves, recovered his reputation, been reinstated as a marshal. Now he used his position to protect Clara's network from the law, to provide documentation for women who needed new identities, to make sure no one looked too closely at cabins in the mountains where beaten women disappeared and strong women emerged. They were not close, Clara and Cole. The shared blood and shared trauma had not made them family in the traditional sense, but they were allies, connected by the man they had both lost, the father who had failed them both, but had tried in the end to make it right. Clara heard footsteps behind her, turned. A young woman stood in the doorway. 17, dark hair, eyes that had seen too much. Her name was Emma. She had arrived 3 days ago. Bruises covered her arms. Fear lived in her every movement, but she was healing, slowly, the way Clara had healed, the way they all healed. "Good morning," Clara said gently. Emma nodded, did not speak. She had not spoken since she arrived. That was fine, Clara understood. Words came when you were ready, not before. "I am going to check the traps," Clara said. "Would you like to come with me?" Emma hesitated, then nodded. They walked into the forest together. The morning was cold but clear. Birds called. Life moved in the underbrush. Clara showed Emma how to walk quietly, how to read tracks, how to set snares, small things, practical things, the kind of knowledge that made you feel less powerless. As they worked, Emma spoke for the first time. "Will it always hurt?" she asked. Her voice was barely a whisper. Clara stopped, considered the question. The girl deserved truth. "Yes," she said, "but different. The sharp pain becomes a dull ache. The dull ache becomes a scar. The scar becomes part of you, not who you are, but part of the landscape you carry." "Does it get easier?" "No," Clara said honestly, "but you get stronger." Emma absorbed this. "Thank you," she said, "for letting me stay." "You are not staying," Clara corrected gently. "You are building. There is a difference. This is not a hiding place. It is a foundation. When you are ready, you will leave. You will go into the world, and you will be strong enough to face it." "What if I am not ready?" "Then you stay until you are," Clara said. "There is no rush, no pressure. This is your time, your choice." They continued working in comfortable silence, the kind that comes when two people understand each other without words. That evening, as the sun set behind the peaks, a rider came up the mountain path. Clara recognized the horse, the posture, Cole. He dismounted, looked tired. He had been riding hard. "Trouble?" Clara asked. "Not exactly," Cole said. He reached into his saddlebag, pulled out a bundle wrapped in cloth. "Something you should see." Clara unwrapped it. Inside was a carving, a bird, blue paint fresh, and a note. She read it, then read it again. "Where did you get this?" she asked. "Found it at the site of an old trapper's cabin, 50 miles west," Cole said, along with signs that someone had been living there recently. Clara's heart began to pound. "Show me." "Clara," Cole said carefully, "do not get your hopes up. It could be anyone, someone who knew Silas, someone who copied his style." "Show me," Clara repeated. They rode out at dawn, 3 days of hard travel through terrain that tested even Clara's skills, but she did not complain, did not slow. Finally, Cole raised his hand. "There!" A cabin, small, hidden in a box canyon that you could only find if you knew exactly where to look. Smoke rose from the chimney. Clara dismounted, approached slowly, her hand on the pistol she now carried, always. The door opened before she reached it. An old man stepped out, ancient, weathered, moving with the careful slowness of someone whose body had betrayed him but whose mind remained sharp. He looked at Clara. Recognition dawned in eyes that had once been gray, but had faded to almost white. "Clara," he said. His voice was rough, weak, but unmistakable. "Silas." Clara's legs nearly gave out. "How?" "The bullet missed my heart," Silas said. "Barely. I woke 3 days later in a field hospital. Cole had brought me there. Did not tell you because he was not sure I would make it." He gestured to Cole, who had stayed back, giving them space. "He came to see me," Silas continued. "Asked what I wanted. I said to disappear, completely, to let you build your life without my shadow. He agreed." 2 years, Clara said. Her voice shook. "You have been alive for 2 years, and you did not tell me." "I wanted to," Silas said. "Every day. But you were building something beautiful, something clean. I did not want to taint it with what I am." Clara closed the distance between them, looked at this man who had saved her, who had died for her, who had apparently refused to stay dead. "You are my father," she said. "You do not get to decide when to be in my life and when to leave." "I am a killer," Silas said. 47 deaths on my hands." "I am a killer too," Clara said. "I shot a man, watched him die, and I am building something anyway. Because what we were does not have to define what we become." Silas's eyes filled with tears. "I do not deserve forgiveness." "I am not forgiving you," Clara said. "I am claiming you, as my father, as family, whether you like it or not." She pulled him into an embrace, careful of his fragile body. He hesitated. Then his arms came up, held her, the way a father holds a daughter, the way Silas Bain had never been able to when she was young. They stood there as the sun rose higher, as Cole watched from a respectful distance, as two broken people tried to become something other than their scars. Finally, Clara stepped back. "You are coming with me." "Clara." "No arguments," she said. "The Bluebird Network needs you. I need you. There are women there who need to learn what you taught me, how to survive, how to fight, how to choose strength over vengeance." Silas looked at his cabin, his hiding place, his self-imposed exile. Then he looked at his daughter, at the woman she had become. Strong, fierce, unbroken. "All right," he said, "I will come." They rode back together, slowly, giving Silas's weakened body time to adjust, giving Clara time to absorb the impossible fact that her father lived. When they reached the Bluebird cabin, Emma was waiting on the porch. She saw Silas, saw the way Clara held him, helped him down from the horse with gentle care. "Who is he?" Emma asked. "My father," Clara said simply, "and one of the best teachers I ever had." Emma looked at Silas, at his scars, his age, his obvious frailty. "What can he teach me?" Silas smiled. "How to survive what should kill you, how to turn pain into purpose, how to build something beautiful from ashes." Emma considered this, then nodded. "I would like to learn that." "Then I will teach you," Silas said. That night they gathered around the fire. Clara, Silas, Cole, Emma. 3 other women who lived at the cabin, learning, healing, becoming. They ate together, talked quietly, shared stories, not of pain, but of tomorrow, of possibilities, of the lives they were building from the ruins of what came before. As the fire died low, Clara stepped outside, looked up at the stars, felt the weight of the blue bird necklace against her chest. She thought of her mother, of Anna, who had loved in silence and died in chains. "I did it," Clara whispered to the night. "I built something you would be proud of. I chose differently. I broke the cycle." The wind moved through the pines, like an answer, like approval. Clara turned back toward the cabin, toward the light, toward the people who had become her family, not through blood alone, but through choice, through shared pain, through the understanding that survival was only the beginning. Redemption was the work that came after. Inside, Silas sat near the fire, showing Emma how to carve wood. His hands shook, but his voice was steady. Teaching, giving, trying to balance the scales of 47 deaths with 47 lessons in how to live. Cole cleaned his pistol as always, but he smiled as he worked, the marshal who had found justice not in the law, but in protecting something that mattered. And Clara stood in the doorway, watching them all. The girl who had run into a snowstorm with a rifle and nothing to lose, who had found a father she did not know existed, who had chosen mercy when vengeance was easier, who had turned pain into power and power into protection. She was not healed. She would never be fully healed. The scars ran too deep. But she was whole, in the way that mattered, in the way that let her wake each morning and choose again. Choose strength, choose compassion, choose to be the person her mother had hoped she could become, and her father had helped her find. A week later, another girl arrived, younger than the others, 13, face swollen from fresh bruises, eyes full of the desperate hope that comes when you have nowhere left to turn. Clara met her at the door, recognized her immediately, not the face, but the fear, the exhaustion, the belief that maybe, just maybe, this place was different. "What is your name?" Clara asked gently. "Lily," the girl whispered. "I am Clara," she said. "You are protected here, Lily. No one will hurt you anymore. Do you understand?" The girl's legs gave out. She fell to her knees, crying. The kind of crying that comes from deep places, from hope that had been beaten down so many times it was afraid to exist. Clara knelt beside her, held her the way no one had held Clara when she needed it most. Let her cry, let her break, because breaking was necessary before building could begin. When the tears finally slowed, Clara helped Lily stand, led her inside, sat her by the fire. Silas appeared from the back room. He said nothing, just handed Lily a cup of tea, warm, simple, kind. Emma sat nearby, the girl who had been silent when she arrived, who now spoke, who now smiled, who was learning. "It gets better," Emma said to Lily. "Not right away, but eventually, I promise." Lily looked at her, saw someone who understood, who had been where she was, who had survived. "Really?" Lily asked. "Really?" Emma confirmed. Clara reached into her pocket, pulled out a small wooden bird, blue, freshly painted. Silas had carved it that morning, one of dozens he was making now, a gift for each new arrival. She pressed it into Lily's hand. "Keep this," she said. "It is a reminder. When things are hard, when you want to give up, look at it. Remember that you flew here. You escaped. And now you are learning to soar. Lily clutched the bird like it was made of gold. Like it was the first good thing anyone had ever given her. Maybe it was. Outside, the sun set behind the mountains, painting the sky in shades of fire and gold, the kind of beauty that only came after darkness, that only mattered because darkness existed. Clara stood on the porch, watching the light fade, feeling the weight of what she had built, the responsibility of it, the privilege. Cole joined her. They stood in comfortable silence, brother and sister, not in the traditional way, but in the way that mattered. "You did good," Cole said finally. "We did good," Clara corrected. "You, me, Silas, all of us." "He would be proud," Cole said, then paused. "Is proud, still getting used to him being alive." Clara smiled. "Me too." They watched the last light disappear. Stars began to emerge, cold, distant, beautiful. "What happens now?" Cole asked. "We keep going," Clara said. "We help the next girl, and the one after that. We build the world we wish had existed when we needed it." "Think we can change things, really change things," Clara considered. Thought of Abraham, of all the men like him, of the systems that protected them, of how vast the problem was. "Maybe not the whole world," she said honestly, "but our world, the small piece we can reach, one life at a time, one sanctuary at a time, one choice at a time. That is enough." "It has to be," Clara said, "because it is all we have." Cole nodded. "Then let us make it count." Inside, Lily laughed at something Emma said. The sound was tentative, fragile, but real. It was the sound of healing beginning, of cycles breaking, of girls becoming women who would teach other girls to become women who would teach others still. A legacy not of pain, but of power, not of silence, but of voice. Clara Ashwood had been beaten every day by her father, until a mountain man rescued her and changed her destiny. But the real change, the one that mattered, came when she stopped being rescued and became the rescuer, when she transformed from victim to survivor to something more. Something necessary, a bridge, a sanctuary, a promise that no girl would ever have to face winter alone again. The blue bird hung around her neck, a reminder of where she came from. But her eyes looked forward, toward tomorrow, toward all the tomorrows that waited for girls who just needed someone to believe they deserved to be saved. Clara believed, and that made all the difference.